All right, thanks for tuning in to Just to Let You Know with the Powell Brothers. Today we have a really great guest. She is a litigation attorney, and some of you guys may or may not know what that is. If there's family drama, you have to call her, and this is Rachel King. So she protects the elderly, if there's elderly abuse, litigation, anything you have in your family that includes drama, you would want to know an attorney like her. So we're going to figure out what she does and the stories that she has. Thanks for tuning in. Just to let you know, because you should know.
Hi, Rachel.
Hey there, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Okay, so I looked you. I know you, but also looked up your past. And the first thing that caught my eyes, just to go into a deep subject.
Oh goodness.
I saw elderly abuse, and the reason why I brought that up is because Mark and I we sell several properties, and oftentimes we deal with seniors. Oftentimes these seniors are living by themselves with an assistant trying to help them, and sometimes we go in there and it doesn't look as clean as it should. So there may be something going on. Sometimes the people look a little bit scared, and we talk to them. But I always wondered, what do you do in a situation like that where you get a phone call and maybe the assistant or something's not right? Like where does all this start? How does it become reported?
Well, you can always report to the DA, and actually the San Diego and Riverside County and all of our local district attorneys will accept the complaints. They'll investigate them. It is criminal, but you can also call many of the nonprofit organizations on anti-aging. It really starts, though, as you said, with caregivers. Like, people talk about elder abuse or think about it, and they think this is going to be the scam where the IRS called, right? Or the Prince of Egypt asked for $1 billion. Right. And there's certainly seniors that fall for those kind of abuse scams, but most of it is in-house by the caregiver, the family member that takes advantage. And not only is it criminal and can somebody go to jail, and actually the FBI is now opening an entire sector that will handle just these kind of investigations, but there's also civil remedies that we can do. So if we know about it, whether that's law enforcement or an attorney in civil court, then there are things that we can do about it. So it starts with being aware and then making the report.
I have a question for her.
Yeah.
What's the worst case of elder abuse you've ever had to deal with? And you don't have to disclose the clients if you can't talk about it, but we'd like to hear.
So
I thought I went dark.
I go dark right away.
Mark took it to another level.
I want to hear I want to hear
the horror stories. They're the fun ones,
yeah.
right? Yeah. So I'm going to talk about, because I don't want to give any information that could potentially lead to my client. But the most common, and I think it's the most devastating, and it is very common, is where an elderly person who we define under the law as over 65 or a dependent adult that can't take care of their everyday needs thinks that they're going to avoid probate, right? You get really scared when you hear the word probate. So they sign over their house, or they don't know what they're signing, and so somebody gets them to sign the deed over to their house. And then while they're still alive, they get evicted from their own house, and they they're not the owner, and it requires sometimes litigation that can be $100,000 just to keep them in their house and restore them to the ownership rights that they had before. And that's probably the most devastating financially. But to me, it's just shocking. Like, it's one thing if you steal somebody's house, right? That's not good. We shouldn't do that. But then while they're alive, you try and kick them out. What are you thinking?
Right, you evict them. Yeah. So who does this? Is it usually a family member, or is it a caregiver, or who scams them like that? Because they have to trust someone to sign it, or do they sign it when they're on their medications or something?
Well, they're usually some kind of cognitive impairment or some kind of reliance, and it's usually a family member or caregiver, and they use the closeness of the relationship, I'm going to bring you food, companionship, get you where you're going, and sometimes it's outright and blatant, like you do this or else, but actually more often it's the fear that is inherently within somebody relying on the caregiver. So they're asking me to do this, they're suggesting that I do it, and I'm so afraid if I don't, they're not going to bring me food anymore. Right. They're not going to be my companion. And so that's where the undue influence comes in. It's not quite as direct, but it's all the time, and it's caregivers and family members most likely.
And what law would that be if a person did that and they got prosecuted for it?
Oh, I don't know the criminal code
yeah,
section,
so
but I know
like-
it's covered by the California Penal Code, the Welfare and Institution Code in the state of California. The probate code has laws. It really is so, there's so much legislation on it that you can almost pick an area of legislation or of statutory law and find something that will offer protections.
So under the abuse, is it physical, emotional, and
Mental?
well, I think emotional would be mental, but also, like you said, depriving them of something like their food, like you're
Right,
supposed
you don't
to.
bathe them or you don't take them to the
Correct.
bathroom?
So those are definitely kinds of abuse, right? But when we're talking about using those, withholding of the necessities of life, or I guess putting the senior in fear that they're not going to have them, that would be more of like an undue influence or some kind of manipulation to get them to do what you want, right? To sign over the house, to leave you a bequest in your will, to write you a check for $50,000 because you can't pay your mortgage, or whatever the sob stories are, right? They really plead and play with the heart of these seniors who trust them. And it's like, oh, I love my caregiver. They're doing all these things. They sit and they read to me, and now they can't give Christmas presents to their children. Like I can write them a check for $10,000.
Man,
That's real abuse.
that's not cool.
No, it's disgusting.
You want to know a really bad one?
Yeah.
Caregivers are getting married with confidential marriages to people that should not be getting married, so that they get rights as a spouse.
So
That's
give
really
me an
bad.
example of how that would happen.
So,
Will you marry me?
I'm
Flowers.
going
No,
to.
let's
We're
hear.
gonna. I have to just choose a
Just a
sex, right?
hypothetical.
So, husband, or we'll say guy, has maybe early onset dementia, can still make his decisions, doesn't lack capacity, but is having some kind of cognitive impairment, has a caregiver that comes in and helps with the dishes, does some of the shopping, doing the house cleaning, things like that. Spends a lot of time, right? Because we know that seniors like companionship. And so they form what the senior or this guy thinks is a close relationship. She suggests they get married. He's like, yeah, that'd be cool. And, oh, yeah, I'll be here all the time and I can live with you and all of the things, right? And many people don't care, right? They're like, yeah, that sounds like a dream.
Grandpa's happy.
Yeah, and then they go get married. But when you go get married, you get to check the box if you want it confidential. So they go get married. They check the confidential
Oh, so
box.
the families will
None
find
of the
out.
adult children or any of the family member can search that marriage. Dude dies. Wife now is an inheritor, and she inherits under the laws, even if there was a will made before.
Yeah.
What a
and
scam.
no witness. Witness is dead.
Right, that's exactly right. That's why it's so hard, because you're like, did they mean to get married? Did they want to? But by the time you find out, it's much harder.
So these are the baby boomers, and the problem is there's more baby boomers in the country than anywhere else. So you're going to see this increasing. Is that why the FBI was brought in? Is just that many cases?
I think so. I also think just with technology and how fast information travels these days with, TikTok and YouTube and all of that, the
AI.
awareness is spreading. So I don't know it seems that there's a rise in all the different kinds of elder abuses, but it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's about time that the FBI or the law enforcement agencies are taking these kind of investigations a little bit more seriously. The result is like so devastating. If you steal the money of somebody who is on a fixed income and doesn't have the ability to earn,
Right.
I mean,
It's devastating.
it's not that it's ever okay, but it's like,
Worse.
Can you
Worse, kind of.
undo a marriage like that?
yes, it's
Oh.
hard, but it's possible. But you have to find out about it.
Well, the person
Right.
dies, and they find out that they were married, but it was a confidential marriage, and then the kids come to you and say, "Hey, my dad married this lady. My dad's 92, and she's
Right.
50. Like, how do we get out of this?"
Do the math.
It's hard, but it's possible. So there are laws in place. It's just a lot harder because we have different levels of capacity, right? So actually, contractual capacity is the highest level. You have to have much more, be much more sound mind, like we are all at the table.
Cognitive.
Yes, and then there's something called testamentary capacity, which is the ability to decide whether you want to make a will. That's lower than the other one, and it basically requires you to be able to say what you own, and who you wanted to go to. So that doesn't take a lot. And then actually there's marital capacity, which is somewhere in between, that it's all it requires is that you have the understanding of the relationship and that you want to get married. So that isn't that hard to like prove, right? All you have to say is like, I really loved him. He really loved me. We wanted to be married.
So now that our viewers are watching this, is there any way you can prevent this unlawful marriage before it happens? Maybe in the trust, say you're elderly, you can't make a decision, you're not going to get married. Is that possible, or is that like taking someone's rights and abusing them the other way? Like, because if Grandpa wants to marry the young woman,
or conservatorship,
Grandpa should be able to marry the young woman,
right? So that's the hard part, because you have this person living with you for a year, taking care of you. The other family members know that you're in good hands, so they don't really come around as much. So you're one-on-one. You could become emotional. You know you're going to die. This person wants to marry you. What do you have to lose?
Right, and you're like, now I get to spend my life with somebody that's
that
much
me.
younger, really
Right.
attractive, and makes
Right.
me laugh. Like, what else do you want when you're about
Right.
to die?
Doesn't that happen anyway?
so
Without the abuse?
I think that there's steps that can be taken. Not everybody that does this is an abuser, right?
Right.
So the best thing that I can say as a prevention tool is to not just assume that everything is okay because there's a great caregiver there. Be aware, make contact, see what's going on, go pick up the papers every now and then, try and form a relationship with the caregiver so that there's some awareness. That way when the warning signs start, you're there in advance rather than,
And don't forget to set up all the hidden cameras in your parents' house so when those people go in, you can watch them. Remember those old ones you used to watch where the nanny would throw the kid around, right? It's like
the teddy cam,
Yeah.
right?
the
teddy bear
cam, and you realize, like, this person I trusted with my kid, and then you leave for work, and
even if they're not working, you just tell the person.
Right, there's cameras.
And you just put them up in real, like, remember those fake cameras that you see in the liquor stores?
right,
But you
blinking
knew
red
they're
lights.
blinking,
Right.
but they look so fake.
Right.
Like battery operated.
Right.
But it was enough to make you
But if you
wonder,
tell them,
right? Because you're like, ooh.
But if you tell them, hey, I have cameras all over. I have a camera there, and I have listening devices. So
Right.
we're keeping an eye on you.
Right.
Sometimes that works. Sometimes
it doesn't, because the person can go get all these cameras out. I don't want this. The grandpa.
Yeah. I heard a caregiver once tell a senior that they couldn't talk to the senior's attorney unless the caregiver was present, and that after they talked to their attorney, they needed to report everything back to the caregiver. That to me is like
Why?
You can only
legal?
assume, right? That it's for. To me, the question is why. There's nothing good that comes from making that requirement of a senior. They should. So.
Ooh.
But I don't know what the purpose
Do you
was. I
think
just thought it
that
was
these
odd.
that the people that are caregivers, like, they know that this is a good scam, and so they go on the internet and
they
they'll
go into
how
that.
do I rip off an old man's house? And they go, okay, if you do this, act like you're a caregiver, put an ad in the paper, I'm a caregiver, with the intention the whole time not to help, but the intent is to steal the house.
Well, they didn't know until you just give them an idea.
I think that's a whole criminal scheme. In fact, I've
Write notes down.
I've come across caregivers that have done it
great idea.
repeatedly. Like that is, they have a pattern. They've done it more than one time. You see it often in like assisted living homes where the caregivers are there and they form a relationship, and then that person dies, and then they just get assigned to somebody new. So it is a pattern criminal behavior. But isn't all your law enforcement? Isn't all criminal behavior usually pattern?
You can follow a pattern easily.
Yeah.
So there's so much evidence that you don't even have to see. You can just see the pattern moving, right? But sometimes you can't. We all been scammed. Like in different ways, you get scammed all the time. You can't just not trust anyone, and you won't live life. It's when you get abused, and it just seems like such a different crime when you're abusing elderly or maybe people who are mentally impaired, especially elderlies who are virtually incapacitated from the amount of medication they have to pick. Mm-hmm. They may not be ambulatory. You have to have help. So you're a very powerful figure to this person. If you don't do what I say, I'm not going to take you to the bathroom. I am not going to feed you, or I'll feed you less.
Right.
And you can see it's like a codependency. And if you tell on me, oh, you wait till they leave.
Right. It
scary.
starts with just, well, I'll just make them wait a little bit longer before I go to take them to the bathroom, right? Just so that they can feel
The
that
pain.
I'm not joking.
Right.
Right.
You know, I can tell you a movie where there was a scene where there's senior abuse. Remember Happy Gilmore when he's sitting in the
When he fights Bob Barker?
he beats up Bob Barker. That's the first one. But he's sitting in there, and his mom's in a retirement home. Remember?
Oh, yeah, and that guy plays a role.
And it was Adam Sandler was playing but who was the other guy's a famous comedian. He
Yeah.
did the movie about the
Zoolander.
Night at the Museum.
What's his name?
Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller, yeah.
Ben Stiller
He
is like
plays a good
standing
abusive
behind her
guy.
going like this.
Yeah. He's like, oh.
And Happy Gilmore is sitting on, hey, Grandma, how's it going? Oh, it's okay here.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah, that's
You know?
hardcore.
Exactly.
But it is scary. It's almost kind of non-preventable. You just have to trust.
Well,
But let me
not
ask-
everybody gets scammed.
Right, not everybody.
I think
It's out there, and everyone should be aware. And that's why, I mean, our podcast is called Just to Let You Know. And then we go because you should know. These are one of the things you should know because many of the people watching, obviously, they have parents or they have elderly or they have a disability, a person that's going to need these services. But let me go backwards a little bit, if you don't mind. Did you have any idea when you're going to become a litigation attorney defending elderly that this existed? Like, what made you interested in this? Or were you aware or not aware?
So I wasn't really aware. I mean, I had grandparents, so I had my family members.
Did you abuse them?
I did not.
So you're not aware.
I didn't get anything from them, it wasn't even in the will.
But your caregiver driving the car. No kidding.
But I had family members that I'm not the first attorney, so I heard things not about them getting abused, but like just watching. Like, why is this caregiver all of a sudden moving in?
Yeah.
Why did
Suitcase coming in.
Yeah, why did that caregiver get the car? Like, why is this car now being driven for personal reasons? So things like that. I have to say that my family allowed all of my grandparents to have independence and make some of those decisions, but they watched. So they were aware. Like I said, awareness. We are all aware that the caregiver is now driving grandma's car for her own use, right? So, and we're making the caregiver aware. When my other grandmother lived in an assisted living, I made a point to go and talk to all of the caregivers, and when they would say, "Oh, I just took her to Target, and she just bought a couple of things," I would ask the caregiver right there, "I'd like to see the receipt." Right. And there were times where the caregiver was like, "And she just really wanted to buy me this, whatever." And it's like, okay, it's only a $20 Target item, but really, I don't think she wanted to do that.
Right.
What did you tell her? She's at Target, and or
do you mind getting me this?
And so
I take care of you.
Yeah, the lines got really blurred. My grandmother lived in wine country in Temecula, and she, was like so bougie. And she would even when she was like in her 90s, she wanted to drink wine and go and like socialize at the wineries. So she would take her caregivers, right? And she would spend tons of money. And she's like, she just loves to take us out to the wineries. I'm like, yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Who's picking up the tab on that one?
Right.
And it was always my grandma. So as a family, we watched it. We made sure the caregivers were aware that we knew what was going on. But we also allowed, my grandma, all of my grandparents, the freedom to, okay, so if you want to do that, like, we can't always go to the winery with you, so it's fine. But we're going to just watch what's happening. We removed checkbooks and said, like, you can still sign your checkbook, but we're not going to let it just hang out on the counter anymore. Let's put things away.
Hey, can I go a little bit back in your history? Yeah. You served in the military.
I did.
And we always say thank you for your service because that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for thanking me. But honestly, I would not be here without the military service, and it's all of your tax dollars that pay for me. So
it's worth it.
It was a real symbiotic relationship there. I joined the Army at 18 after I tried and failed in my first year or my first semester in college, and I didn't really have anything to do. My parents cut me off financially, so I thought, oh shoot, I need to food costs money. And so I joined the Army. I went in. I was stationed at Fort Wainwright, Alaska, and then Fort Hood, Texas. I realized very early on that I did not want to make a career out I'm far too hard-headed and controlling, I think, to be in the military. But it got me my degree. I knew then that I was going to use the military for my bachelor's degree and have them pay for college. And I still think that you can't ask me what the Army values are because I don't remember them all. But I really still think I live the Army values. One of them is integrity. I hold that very near and dear. And the discipline that it taught me, hands down, was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
So in Israel, everybody does military service. There's few exceptions. And they go in when they're 18.
And they do 2 years, I think.
Yeah, women do 2 years, guys do 2 years and 8 months, but I think they're going to boot it back up to 3. Do you think that would be a good idea for the United States to have some form of mandatory military service for
Teach you a lot.
for kids?
Well, I think one of the fundamental things within our country is freedom. So it's kind of those, do we impede on some of the freedoms that we have that make us a unique country? Or do we say, well, our 18-year-olds can't make a decision to save their life these days. They live with mom and dad until they're 35 and then they become, or 65, and then they become the elder abusers. Or do we push them out and get them some discipline? I personally think some kind of discipline at 18 is really great, whether that is making kids move out of their parents' house and going to college, making kids move out of their parents' house and getting a job and becoming self-supporting, or military service. But I think we need to start cutting the cord
Right.
a little bit more at 18.
Or just getting a job, even if you're going to live at the house, but, bring home the money and help. And I do believe the military would be good because you say, yeah, we have freedoms, but we have freedoms because of our military. You get freedom's not free. And if you don't believe that, take a look at the world right now. It's just, there's a lot of things going on. So you got to fight for that freedom. If you have to fight for that freedom, you don't want to be soft. Like I think America's pretty
A lot
soft
of the
right
kids that I see, like even some of my family members, they're just not disciplined. Like they're not disciplined, and they have this entitlement attitude like, well, you owe me. You owe me this, you owe me that. And I go, well, and then they protest the military, and they're against them. And I'm like, well,
I think they're protesting the wars. People don't like violence.
Well, I'm going back, like you can go back 40 years, not just right now.
Right.
But I think that kids, like you said, they need to get that umbilical cord cut. And both my daughters at 18, they went off. They're in college now. They're like, bye-bye. They wanted to go, though.
Yeah, so I wanted to go. I mean, I moved out like as soon as I could. I tried college. Again, that didn't work out. But I had no desire to like move back home. I was just, I didn't realize that as a high school graduate that you have no skills and you aren't smart and nobody wants to pay you any money. So the best opportunity I had was like the Army. And as soon as I finished boot camp, I had a huge appreciation for my parents and everything that life was and what they'd done. My daughter, I have an 18-year-old, she decided not to go into the Army, or the military, which was totally fine with us. But she moved out in August. She graduated in June, moved out in August, rents a room, goes to college, has a job. And man, within 1 month of moving out, she like loved us again and had an appreciation for life and what we did and money. And so I don't really think it matters how kids get there, though I do think the military service teaches you lots of things. But I think we need to do something for...
How was your drill instructor?
Oh, so... When I got to basic, so one of the things I didn't realize actually was intentional, I should have, but I was a stupid 18-year-old, except afterwards you realize it, is when you sign up, you go through something called MEPS, which is the Military Entrance Processing Station, and that's where all the branches are, right? So you go through all your physicals. They give you a plane ticket. They're so nice, right? And they're like, anything you want, we'll get you there. Like, you're going to go have a great time. I went to basic training in South Carolina. I get to South Carolina. I'm met by new drill sergeants at the airport, and they're like, oh, you're going to do great. You're going to love it. It's fabulous. Like, so nice. They put you on a bus. It's really late at night. You get to the post at like 11 p.m. And apparently everybody arrives at nighttime. And you get off that bus, they just yell at you. It's like, get off the bus, get off the bus. And it is just like the movies. Like, get rid of all your stuff. They just yell, and you're so tired. And you're like, wait, but everybody was so nice a second ago.
Right.
So
That's
So it's
before you
kind of-
signed the document.
yeah,
Exactly.
it was kind of shocking, and then you don't sleep. My drill sergeant, I think a day in, what did I do? Like I really did. I was like, where's the bell that you can go ring?
Yeah.
There's no such
Right,
bell.
no. That's just a SEAL team.
Yeah. So, but then we had a meeting with, at the time, it was my company commander, I don't remember his name, and he said, all you need to do is take it like one step at a time. I think this has probably resonated even till today. And he said, if you can only make it meal period to meal period, just do that. And I thought I was going to die. I was like, I'm never going to make it. And I just did that. I thought, okay, well, I can make it to lunch because I like to eat, right? So I was like, I can make it to lunch, and then I get to eat. Mm-hmm. And then once I get out of lunch, all I have to do is make it to dinner time, right? And then all I have to do is make it to breakfast. So I literally went through my 10 weeks of basic training, meal to meal, embracing the suck, not trying really hard not to focus on what we were doing, and getting through just to the next meal period. I don't remember a whole lot about my drill sergeants. I remember thinking they were really old, and now I look at them and they're probably like 24.
Right.
Things like that.
Right.
Probably have sleep deprivation. You don't remember much. Why did you choose the Army and not the other branches?
So when I stopped going to college, my parents put my stuff on the driveway that was left at their house at like 9 p.m. and said, like, no, you can't come home. So I was like, oh, crap. Well, I'm a pretty resilient person, and I knew people in the military, so I thought, I'm going to join. I'm going to see what this is all about. So I went to MEPS, and they have all the branches, and I met with every single recruiter.
Okay.
I was looking for a couple of things. I was looking, at the time, this was really only like 22 years ago, but the military has changed vastly since then.
Right.
So there was certain jobs that women could do and couldn't do. My goals were to look for a branch that could give me money for college, that would give me a job that sucked the least, and that could get me out of there as fast as possible, right? So most of the Marine Corps was out. The Air Force couldn't get me shipped for a while.
Navy.
The Navy didn't really have a job that I wanted. So, and the Army had at the time an Army College Fund and a sign-on bonus. And the Army has so much money that this was right after 9/11 too. So we were really trying to get service members. So I chose the Army. And then they said to me, we'll ship you out in 6 months. And I said, oh no, I need to go right now. In 6 months, I'll have my different plan B, right? Right now, this is my plan B. But I have nothing to do for 6 months. So I said, if you can get me out in 2 weeks, I'll sign a contract right now. And I figured 2 weeks because I could go back to my mom and be like, I signed a contract for the Army. Can I just crash on your couch for 2 weeks until I go and play that sob story? The Army said okay. My mom said okay. And kind of the rest is history.
Wow.
And what a story.
Yeah.
You have a good relationship with your parents now?
Yeah, so I did not come from a military family either. That decision to join the military took them by surprise. They were not all super excited about it. Now, many of my family members are in the military. I get along with my parents all really well. I have divorced parents, so I actually consider myself having 4 parents.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're going to have a good Christmas. Good to go back and forth.
Once you have children, then they don't give you gifts anymore. They give your children gifts,
exactly.
and then they just you get to a point with your parents where you go to their house and you end up doing all of the work and cooking and cleaning up their house. Yeah, that's where I am. So it'll still be fun, but I don't know how relaxing it will be.
So when we were talking before the podcast, you mentioned that you like to run and you're a pretty disciplined runner. Did you think you got that discipline from the Army, or is that something that you were just born with?
My mom would probably say that I was born with my discipline and my ambition, and that she tells people this all the time, whatever Rachel put her mind to, she went and did it, whether it was really good or really bad as a rebellious teenager, right? She was full force. So I think it's inherent in me. I used to think that I took up running as an adult, and then I realized that I was running on my elementary track team. So I think I like the mental kind of decompression that I get when I run.
And how far have you've run races? Pretty far. How far is the farthest?
45 kilometers and 50 kilometers.
Okay, so what's that in miles?
It sounds cooler when it's in kilometers.
I know.
That's why I say
It's like
it's
two
not
clicks
like-
in the military.
I think a kilometer, a mile is a little bit less than a kilometer.
So it's
All right.
5
Does anybody have a
kilometers.
calculator?
5 kilometers is 3.1 miles. So if we just
Oh, I
did
can do the math.
45
Oh,
divided
geez.
by 5 multiplied by 3.1.
Okay, so you run far.
You run far. That's far.
So that's well past 26 miles in a marathon.
Yes, my next one is,
Are these races or is this part of training?
well, I train for them, but I sign up for races so that I have a reason to actually train. Again, I think the
Right.
discipline, if I don't have something, I'll still go out and run.
Right.
But I like the discipline of having a routine. I live by my calendar. I like to know where things are. I don't want to say I'm regimented, but like I like to keep track of what I need to do and then get it done.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say, we talked about abuse, but you also do litigation. You also do trust work. So our viewers, because they watch Mark and I, because we're both real estate brokers, we deal a lot with trust. And how does that happen when somebody pass away and their house is in a trust? What are the first procedures to handle that?
So trusts in California are used a little bit differently than trusts in other states. In California, our probate system is a bit antiquated. It takes a long time, and it can be more costly than other states. So one of the main reasons we use trusts in California is to avoid that
The
whole
probate.
thing.
So what is probate?
Probate is an area of law similar to, like, we have the California Penal Code for criminal law. So we
Right.
have the California Probate Code. It basically handles the controlling of somebody else's person or property, right? And that can be while they're alive and have, a cognitive impairment or a developmental disability, or after they pass away. Who's going to be in charge? What's going to happen to the property? In a trust, so if you don't have a trust,
Right.
then you basically are stuck with going into the court system. How that process works depends on the total value of your assets. But I'm sure you know this. Maybe
Right.
I'll educate somebody. Yeah. The big thing is, in California, the legislators, it changes every year. Right now it's about $188,000. If you have more than $188,000, you're going, without a trust, you're going to trigger court probate. And real estate is not determined by the equity. It's determined by the
Market value?
fair market value. I don't know that there's a house in San Diego County for less than $188,000. If so, I'd like to buy
Well,
it.
there is. It's called a car.
Right.
People sleep in them every night.
So you could have
It's a new home affordability plan.
$2 million house,
Yeah.
owe $2 million on it,
Right.
and
it's
still
still the
have to
value.
go through probate, right?
Okay, so that's true. A lot of our clients go, hey, what are the pros and cons about putting everything in a trust? Because you hear everyone saying, the liability, if you're going to get sued civilly or whatever, you always want to be protected in a trust. Is that true?
You can protect your assets using a trust, but that is not typically the kind of trust that's created. That would be like an irrevocable trust. The problem with that, if you're thinking about an irrevocable trust, don't use like LegalZoom or any of these things. They're really kind of dangerous. You lose control of your assets. So
Right.
I don't want to get sued.
Right.
But I also want to make sure that if I want to sell a house, buy a house, sell my stocks, I can. In an irrevocable trust, you lose that control. I think for most people, if you're not with some long-term, very expensive illness, insurance is probably the way to go other than an irrevocable trust, but talk to an attorney.
What's the difference between an irrevocable and a revocable trust?
An irrevocable trust cannot be changed once it's been created, and a revocable trust can.
So just keep it as a revocable so you can change it, right?
Right, but then a creditor can touch it.
Oh, then a creditor.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's the big deal, right?
So that's the double-edged sword you're dealing with.
Right. So control your own assets.
Yeah.
Get a fund insurance policy to cover any liabilities if your only concern is liability.
I'm going to have to call LegalZoom. I wish you would have told me this, a week ago. It's too late now.
It's never too late. You're still alive and you have capacity.
I just have an irrevocable trust.
Yeah,
No, I didn't.
that you made in Zoom.
I did try to do that myself.
Yeah, forget it.
And do a trust
No.
and a will. And I just it was like fill out the blanks and
Right. It's like people trying to sell
I'm
their own
calling my
houses.
wife going, what do you want to call this? She's like, what are you doing? I go, I'm trying to do a trust and a will. She's like, just hire somebody.
Right.
They're really cool if you know how to fill it out and you know what it's asking. But the problem is most people don't know what it is,
Right.
don't know what they're asking, and don't know how to fill it out.
I'm
So-
that person.
So you.
So that is job security for
Exactly.
me, though. I
Right.
appreciate
Exactly.
that.
But
No, we're- go ahead. I'm sorry.
But most people, if they're going to get a will or a trust, and if you own real estate, they should come to an attorney like you.
Yeah, and
They should
and
come to her.
A will.
Rachel
Like her.
King.
Yeah, Rachel King.
King Law Firm, Attorneys
Yeah.
at Law Incorporated.
Right.
Yeah.
King of Law.
The lawyer King.
The lawyer King. There's a couple other people, the couple brothers we know that has a King name in it too. You guys ever get confused on who's who? Because you'd be the female version. They're,
I'm the lawyer King. I bought that domain way
Okay.
before I even became a lawyer. I have like a really nasty review on Yelp from another King law firm, and I'm like, it's not me. But
oh
Yelp
no,
will-
yeah, they
Yelp
got the
will
wrong
remove it.
person. Yeah,
Will they remove it?
No, I've
No.
Oh,
tried.
that's-
Yeah.
you got the wrong
Yeah,
King.
you have to pay Yelp, I think, in order to get them
Well,
to
I mean,
remove
it's
anything, and I
almost
refuse.
impossible. And people can put whatever they want on there.
Right. Yeah, the Yelp.
This
Yeah.
Yelp it scares restaurant people.
Right.
It scares a lot of people because, there's people that'll have dinner at a restaurant.
And they'll
and
Yelp
they're
it.
I'm going to leave a bad review if you don't do this.
Right.
What, like who does that?
I don't know. Just eat
I
your
don't even
food
know
and-
how to do it.
I mean, every once in a while, like I don't know how many times I eat out, but every once in a while, very rare, you get crazy rude service. But you see these people like they're waiting. They almost go there with their Yelp ready to go, like just evaluating every move they make. My fork wasn't in the right place or whatever. They just want to say something
not
negative.
cool.
That's social media, though.
You know how it used to be?
But it's not. It's
If
not
you had
what-
bad service, you just wouldn't go back.
So there was a restaurateur that made the news who was so upset with Yelp that he started giving a discount for every customer that came in and gave him a 1-star Yelp review because he just wanted to show Yelp that they didn't have control over him. And Yelp tried to sue him. I mean, it was like a big to-do, but I thought it was pretty brave to be
Right,
like,
that
you know
is
what? I'm
brave.
going to own this. You come into my restaurant, you give me a 1-star Yelp review, I will give you a 10% discount or whatever.
So you mean the lowest review?
Yeah, because he wanted to show that as a restaurateur, Yelp did not control his business. So he just flipped it on and I thought that was so cool.
that's
Made
pretty-
me want to go to his restaurant, but I don't know where he is.
Yeah, that's pretty
Guy's
gutsy.
this guy only has 1 star.
What's the most exciting thing about your work being a litigator? I mean, does it get exciting, or is it? Would you consider this exciting, or boring, or marginal, or?
I love putting on trial.
Right.
I think putting on a trial makes me feel the same way that like completing the race that I trained for a really long time. Like it's all this build
Prep
up,
work, right.
and then you get there and you get to like put on the show. I
Right.
love going to trial. I love picking out what I'm going to wear to court. I
Right.
love everything about court. Everything about it is my favorite.
Have you ever got a judge that you didn't like?
Yes, I've had judges that didn't like me too.
How's that? How's it working with them? Once you realize you got this judge, and you're like, oh, how do I get by this? What do you do? Do you have to reorganize your thought process to get around this person?
One judge didn't like me so much that I actually told my client I think his case would be better if he got a new attorney because there was such clear
Right.
bias and animosity. So that one I did. I said, I don't think I can help you in this case. If I really try and research my judges and see how they like things to be presented, I don't care at all how I present information, right? I'm not one of those attorneys that's like, this is how it should be done, so we're going to do it. If you, Your Honor, want me to say whatever, say it this way or present it this way, I will do it your way because you're the one making the decision. So that's really how I handle all of the judges I'm in front of. And if I'm in a courtroom where the judge is having a bad day or didn't like something I was doing, I usually just say thank you, Your Honor, and leave it and
Leave
we
it
move
short
on.
and sweet.
You know what's weird
less
about
is more.
judges?
Right.
Judges are just lawyers
Right.
that decided to become referees.
Yes.
Right.
And so, and you don't even really have to be good. If you run for office
Right.
and you are an attorney and you
Right.
run to be a judge and you win, you're a judge.
I wanted to do that. I thought I could get really good banners that just said King
Right.
for judge, and I think I'd win if I did it because nobody cares and they just
Try it. Right. It's
Why
good.
don't
But then
do
I
it.
decided I don't want to work that hard, and I don't want to work for the government. So I.
Right. So the role of a judge is to be, like Mark said, the referee, to make sure that you're following the rules. It's almost like when Mark and I sell a property, we have this thing called the escrow. So no one knows what an escrow is. An escrow is a neutral company that makes sure you're following the rules. You're following the contract.
And everybody does what
That
they're
everyone's
supposed to.
they're supposed to do. So when people look at like litigation, it's the jury that if there's a jury, they're going to make the decision, but the judge makes sure like what's admissible, what's not admissible. You can say that, you can't say that, you can bring in this as evidence and that. So they are the judge. But I see them sometimes are lopsided where it seems like a reasonable information or evidence to bring in, and they go, we're not allowing that. And sometimes they just say we're not allowing it for no reason.
Well, it seems like for no reason,
Okay,
but the rules of
gotcha.
evidence are really, I think actually that's one of the things that makes somebody that's a litigation attorney a really good litigation attorney, or maybe not as
Okay,
good,
right.
or okay, is because they don't totally understand the rules of evidence. Being able to get that text message in is necessary, right? So if you can't get it in, you kind of screwed your case. Judges, well, in criminal law, they do sentencing,
Right.
right? There are, in probate, there's judge trials. So not only are the judges then making sure everybody follows the rules, they're also making the decision. And some attorneys really like those. Some attorneys don't. I think they're fun to do judge trials because you don't have to get so layperson, right? You're like talking to somebody who knows the law and can understand it instead of talking to a jury member who you're like, okay, so probate is, right?
Right. That'd be tough. How many cases did you handle at one time? Like, let's say, I'll give you in 1 month, is it just one case you're working on, or do you have several?
I'm in court almost every day.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes I'm in court, 3 or 4 times a day. The cases that I have, because I'm in litigation, are typically like you start here and then it goes on for 2 or 3 years, right? So we have a lot of stuff. It's called like the hurry up and wait, also from the military. You hurry up and do a whole lot of stuff and then you're just waiting to get there. You do a lot of stuff and then you're waiting. So I have a fairly large caseload, but I'm not always like hurrying up on everything.
Right.
I probably have trial, I don't know, some of them are short trials, a couple of days, but in total, I probably have about 6 to 10 trials a year. They don't all go to trial. Some of them settle.
How many, what's the biggest monetary value have you fought for? Is there some really huge cases where there's millions going down?
I've had cases that were worth millions of dollars. Probably the real estate ones, though, because real estate is inherently very valuable. It's hard to chase after money that's already been spent. We can, but then I often tell my clients, like, are you judgment proof? Like, if this person, we'll say caregiver took off with all of the money, we could get a good court to say, yes, you're right, they're wrong, and give you this fancy piece of paper with their signature and a red stamp on it. But what are you going to do? How are you going to get it? They've spent it all. So getting ahead of it is always good, but real estate is usually the one that we can recover the fastest, or the most likely to recover because it doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
And we can put Liz pendants and all of the things that annoy title companies.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We get this list pendant, so there's a cloud on the title. Some people not even aware they can. When Mark and I are selling houses, sometimes you get that. It's called a preliminary title report, and then you find like a mechanic's lien on there. And what the people don't even know, there was a mechanic's lien. They go, hey, before you sell this, you have to clear this cloud on the title. That's why they call it the cloud, the dark cloud.
People don't know what a mechanic's lien is. It's not like your car mechanic.
What's that?
It's not like a car mechanic.
It's the contractor that hired the subcontractor that did the work, and then the contractor that you paid didn't pay the subcontractor, so the subcontractor comes and puts a lien on your
There you go.
house.
See?
Yeah.
And
horrible.
And it starts actually, according to my, Real Estate 101 back in the day, if they even drop off materials at your house, they could put a lien on your house. Once they drop off the materials, they don't even start working. And that's an important thing you just said. It's not always a contractor, but it's all the subcontractors. So now you got this guy, the drywaller wants to get paid. The contractor goes, I'm not going to pay you. You did a bad job. And so that subcontractor could put a lien on your house as well. So it's not just a contractor. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's the subcontractor as long as they have a contracting license.
So what's the most proper way to clear that? Is you have to pay the subcontractor, or do you have to go?
So if you paid the contractor, then you probably want to sue the contractor and have them handle it. It depends how much it is. I mean, I've had clients that have come to me and I said, I think, you're in escrow, you're about to close, you've owe $5,000. Like, you shouldn't have to pay it, but just pay it.
Just pay it.
Right?
I mean,
because otherwise you're going to be in a legal suit. The law is not fast, so
Right.
you're going to lose this sale. It's going to be a big pain.
They should know.
Right away.
That reminds me.
Yeah. Do you have one with a lien? I was kidding. Yeah.
I might.
Are we doing a deal? Yeah.
I might.
If you
I'm
really
gonna
read
find
those
out
things,
today.
you're supposed to read them as a realtor?
But it's not even ready for market. But there's been a lot of contractors
We
in
can
there. So-
Yeah.
go in and we can, in court, we can get them taken care of if they're incorrect, right? But the court system is like very slow. So if you know about it before it's listed or before you're in escrow, even better. I had a client who was involved in, I guess it was a scam. Well, I mean, it was for sure a scam, but I think a big like national scam where they were trying to refinance, and it was the fraudulent company just like sold their house to all of these people, and they didn't know it. They had no idea, and then they gave up on that company because it wasn't going through. They went to another one, and they were like, "Yeah, so you don't own your house anymore," like all these other 10 people did. And we had to go in. That's a big cloud on title, right? We had to go in and quiet title to everything. It was a pain.
That's that
Poor.
rip-off. That's when they start. That's identity theft kind of thing when
Yeah.
they steal the house out from under people.
And people
So-
don't know. You got to open your mail.
Right. Open that mail.
Yes.
And also for all those brokers and realtors out there watching this, you have to know how to read a preliminary title report, and you have to see, if there's any liens on the house. Because if you find these things out and you expect to close a house in 30 days, that ain't closing in 30 days. You have to take away the cloud of the title, and that's usually paying. It's always about money. The good thing, it's not that good, but the good thing about real estate is when you get into a conflict, money solves it.
Yes.
You're not dealing with murder. You're not dealing with where it's just like, hey, my roof is leaking, and you said it wasn't. Okay, how do we solve this? You don't got to go to court. Okay, here's your new roof.
Right.
You're gonna give them 12 grand or 15 G's or whatever it takes.
Yeah. When I'm involved in a probate sale or anything, any real estate transaction like that, I ask to talk to the title company right away. And I say, I want to talk to title because I want to know what their problem is going to be.
Right.
I don't care about anybody else's problem. I want to know if title is going to have an issue.
Right.
And if I can know about it on day 2 of escrow, that's a whole lot better than when they're calling me
Right.
the day before the close of escrow and saying, hey, I need this opinion letter, or you need to fix this. And
Yeah,
we're
that's-
closing tomorrow. You have to do it right now. And it's like,
So
that doesn't work.
who's the biggest? I don't want to say a-hole, but I'm going to say it.
What you just said? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't want it to get bleeped out.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
So I don't want to say
Alpha William.
Adam, Sam, Henry, Ocean, Barry, Edward.
Okay.
Okay.
Real phonetics.
Who is the biggest that person that you've ever had to deal with in court as an opposing counsel?
I can't
Oh,
get
you
names.
can't. Come
no,
on,
I'm
man.
not
You gotta
asking for
throw
the
together,
name,
right?
but just tell me
who
what.
is it? But no name.
No, just tell
Oh,
me
it's
what.
some guy.
Tell me what they did.
He was
That one
5'8".
person that one day that was wearing a
No, the
suit.
guy who was, or the girl,
Yeah.
who was so adversarial with you just from the get-go. Do you ever have that?
Oh, you talking about a judge or talking
No,
about
I'm
another?
talking about another attorney. Like,
Oh, did they come after you like that? Go for the throat
So
right
they
away?
used to when I was a new attorney. They
Right.
would tell me all the time, like, you're too young, you don't know. And I was like, okay, well, I probably know the more recent laws than you do. I still get people that,
Underestimate.
I don't want to say this as an insult, but like, if you could picture like the New York attorney from like the 1980s and how their mannerisms are and how they kind of,
It's like how Mark looks now.
yeah. Well, with the cufflinks and the whole thing, right? The cufflinks and the
Look like a
you
New
know,
York attorney today.
No, he does not.
No,
No.
okay.
Not a 1980s New York attorney.
no.
They.
Oh, she got your back. You see that?
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
A fist bump. Thanks.
Sometimes.
Wouldn't let me throw him under the bus.
No, because it's not accurate.
Oh, okay. Well, he looks like an Italian guy with a little.
Hey.
Well, that's different than
Yeah.
a 1980s New York.
Yeah. Okay,
You mean
gotcha.
she's talking about my?
I can't picture. Who's
she's
this-
talking about my cousin Vinny.
Yes,
Oh,
perfect.
got you.
So I
Yeah.
get there's
Yeah.
still people out there, male and female, that kind of have that, demeanor, and they think that if they talk louder
Right.
or they
Throwing a New York accent.
yeah, all of the things, right? Talk louder and talk down to you and all of it, that it's going to make you somehow,
Right.
I don't know, change your mind.
Right. Change
To
your
those
ways.
people, in fact, I learned this from other attorneys, that I'm not going to argue.
Right.
Your client could have walked into my office just as likely as
Right.
my client could have walked into your office. We don't have to agree. You can't force my client to settle. I can't force your client to settle. So let's just go in and go to trial. And that's what judges are for, or juries are for. The problem is that many of those attorneys that are very, very loud and theatrical don't actually want to go to trial because they maybe don't know the rules of evidence. So
Right.
they're trying to use that
Of
technique.
course.
I find it
Settle.
very frustrating.
How-
But I've had lots of people say very mean things to me, and I just
Oh, well, that's good. You have that. That's that Army strong. You know?
that's right.
Yeah.
Army of Strong. I don't know
Was
if
it-
that came
was it-
before
was it-
Army of One.
Yeah, these have the commercial. We're Army strong. Is that what it was? Don't be strong, be Army strong, right?
Yeah,
There's
Army
a
Strong.
logo?
Army Strong was a logo. Army of One was when I was in that. One stood for officers, non-commissioned officers, and enlisted. And I actually didn't know that till I was like out of the Army. That was
You didn't even-
You want to know something funny about the Army? I'm
Yeah.
a founding member of the National Historic Army Museum.
Right.
Like
You're
we
the
have-
founder.
No, I'm.
Oh, honorary.
I got this thing about the Army like years ago,
Right.
and they said, "Hey, we're establishing this museum," and I go, "Man, I really love the military."
You weren't even in the
So-
Boy Scouts.
No, I was in nothing, and so I filled it out. The Army National Historic Museum,
So you
and
got
I
a
get.
certificate?
Does
I
it
got
come with a
certificate.
uniform?
Yeah, I got everything. No, I
that's
give them.
funny.
I give them money because they
that's
have.
why.
Yeah.
Well, I
It's
gave
called
him money.
abuse. You need her. You
I
call
needed
her
to see-
back. You need to get King on your side.
No, because I'll tell you why. It's
Does-
because I love the Army, and I'm going to tell you why I love the Army so much. Because the armies are the ones that liberated the concentration camps in Germany, and it was those Army guys that did it. And they didn't go in there. They didn't fight in the war to liberate the concentration camps.
Right. They just came across them.
They came across, and they're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
and
What's going on here?
And the stories you hear about what these Army people
Right.
did and how they helped the
Not the-
people.
yeah.
Gave them a cigarette and said, "Hey, you're gonna be okay now.
my
Come on,
God.
let's get out of here." So I have this fondness for the Army, of all the branches of government,
Yeah.
of the military. I like the Army.
And they're the ones that are not really highlighted as much as like the Marines.
Well-
the Navy has their SEALs. The Marines has
We live in San Diego, so we're
Right.
surrounded by
right.
Marines and
Navy
Navy because
yeah,
of the ocean.
Right. Miramar.
I think it's awesome that you love the Army. I was in the Army.
Yeah.
But the Army is land. So
Right.
if like they were the branch that was going to be on
Well-
land finding things, the Navy does ocean, the
Right.
Marines do the amphibious
They do everything.
work, and then the Air Force does the
What-
air. They all kind of cross over, but that's the
Right.
general.
Here's a
idea.
little bit of history about San Diego. San Diego was an Army town before it was a Navy town. So you had Camp Kearney,
didn't know
Camp
that.
Callan,
Yeah.
Fort Emory, and Fort Rosecrans.
Camp Callan was by UCSD,
Camp
right?
Callan
That was
is
in
where
Hawaii.
they were setting up the 16-inch guns in case the Japanese Imperial Navy was going to invade.
That was
the
above
coast.
Black's Beach, Torrey Pines.
Right, and you can still see where on the golf course was where they had the guns, and then you had Kearney, named after Kearney,
Right.
Camp Kearney,
There's all
Fort Rosecrans.
Fort
And so what
Rosecrans,
happened was
Ballast Point.
during the Spanish-American War, the Army was here, and then they decided to give the property to the Navy. World War II. So then the Army deeded that property over to the Navy. But the history of San Diego County
It's Army.
is Army,
Right.
and this is where they trained, and this is where they fought wars.
Right.
So we were an Army town for decades, maybe centuries before we were.
The Midway, the aircraft carrier, that's the museum now, is sitting in a spot that's called Tuna Harbor. And the military, the Army, that's where they'd load up on the ships to be transported to another ship to go into the Pacific realm to
Really?
fight.
Yeah.
They all started right there. So it was a huge, and what I think is
They don't
disappointing.
teach us this
No, they
when you
don't
go
teach
through
us that.
basic.
And what is not cool, I don't think, is that you go to that area where they honor the military, but you have the ship representing the military. Then you have a lot of statues, some Marines, and then way at the end you have the sailor kissing the girl for the end of the war celebration. But you don't have the struggle or the dedication that the Army built. There's not a big monument for the Army. The only time you see the Army in all those is where you see the Bob Hope, who used to go there and entertain the guests. And inside of that memorial area, there's some military guys that look like they're Army. They're wearing Army things. But Mark said it right. UCSD, all those trees that were growing up, they grew a lot of eucalyptus trees. They were using those for battle and maneuvers. And that was a huge base. And then you had Camp Kearney High School, where that whole area, if you look at the old pictures, like if you guys want to look, Google it, there's massive tent city for the military in Kearney. So they were all
Wow, that would've been
Army.
Yeah.
An amazing base to be stationed
Yeah,
at.
yeah, it would have been really cool. And in fact, I think you can verify this because Mark's like a guru at this. Claremont Drive, if you look at Claremont Drive, was a landing strip, an emergency landing. So when they would fly and take off, they had cut out this area right over the ocean, which is Claremont, and Claremont Drive was used as a landing pad. And if you look at the houses there, those are all built in the 50s. Those are all military housing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
All
so
of-
interesting.
All of, as a matter of fact,
Claremont as well, right?
The Montgomery Middle School was the old Kearney High School, and in that school there's a shooting range up on top because you used to be able to shoot guns in school.
Right,
They would train-
ROTC.
Yeah,
You get the little
you'd give you
22s.
little 22 shorts, and they'd be
Right.
up there shooting their guns in school.
Right.
And that entire field was empty. But yeah, there was Camp Kearney, Fort Rosecrans, Camp Callan, and Camp Fort Emory.
And then Ballast Point, you know what Ballast Point means?
Yeah.
No, I just know about the brewery.
Well, Ballast Point was a place where when they take the ships, they'd have so much weight on one side with tanks and army and personnel that they would have to put a ballast to level the ship.
Oh,
Right. So
wow.
they call it, that's the point you take your ship, get the ballast ready, sturdy for ocean, and then they sailed off that. So that's what's called Ballast Point. But now everyone knows it as their IPAs and a
Yeah,
really good brewery to have a
exactly.
beer at.
So if you guys love the military so much, how come you didn't go in?
We went
Because we're rich?
no, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Because your parents didn't
Yeah.
kick you out at 18 years
No,
old?
we became cops. We went in law enforcement.
Yeah, we
So
kinda-
Okay, so
went-
same kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same
same
kind of thing. We're-
paramilitary. When
We're paramilitary.
like we could have
so-
had a choice of going in the military, but we did our 4 or 5. You did 18 years. I did 5
We
years.
did criminal justice degrees. When I was growing up, because I'm 60, so when I was 18, there wasn't anything really happening. Like 9/11 really brought in, the SEAL teams weren't talked about that. I don't even think there was a SEAL team.
There
back
was
then.
a
There was?
62. Yeah, I
Okay,
know
so
one of the
62.
OG guys.
Okay, so
Like he's in his
but
80s.
But there wasn't the social media where you got to see them all highlighted. You saw
No,
a couple
God,
movies,
no.
but now with all the social media and you see what these guys
Yeah.
do, and then you have 2 towers falling down, and you got a really good in for hey, I want to go fight for my country. But it was a Vietnam era that we were too young to be in. So there was not any motivation to go in the military.
Right, got
And
it.
I wanted, we had access to college, and I wanted to go learn, so I didn't really
No.
have that as an option.
There was
I wasn't
nothing going
violent.
on.
I mean, I like to protect people,
Boring.
but
Well, not boring. It's good. We had peace. We had the Cold War.
Well, we just didn't hear about it right now. There's probably all sorts of stuff going on all the time throughout the world, but we didn't have the social media.
It's all about how fast information spreads
Yeah,
right now.
because you used to always hear about the Middle East, something going on.
I
over
get the
there.
news now before it even happens.
I think you could make a lot of money off
Oh,
of
Yeah,
it.
that's really good. It's called I think we have a crystal ball here. That's very,
We do.
I wish we knew that. We make a lot more money in real estate if you could see what's going to happen in the future. That's one thing about real estate. You're not quite sure. People ask you like, "Hey, what's going on? I got this house." This is a general question.
I have a guarantee that I can say about real estate. I
I bet you I would have answered that if you would have let me finish my thought. This guy always interrupts me. He just did it. Did you guys witness it? We're taking notes, right? He just starts making up
I
something.
think you could guarantee that the housing market is going to go up in the future.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
You can't guarantee that.
Yeah, 100%.
In the future?
In the
You
future?
can absolutely guarantee
Yeah,
that at some
guarantee.
point it will go up in the future.
What if we get nuked?
The whole
Oh,
country?
man, you thought I went dark.
The whole country's gonna
We're
get
a
nuked?
military target.
Oh, I know. We're a big one.
Everyone throws that off. We got nuclear subs. Okay, that have nuclear capabilities.
Right.
We got nuclear aircraft carriers.
Right.
Why do you think they're not in San Diego Bay anymore? They just happened to move them out. Oh, they moved them out for no reason. Where are they?
I don't know. I'm
right.
not on
I'll
it.
tell you why.
But you know the
because
news
we're a
ahead of
target.
us.
Because we're a
I
target.
did know, but I can't say anything yet.
Hey, you never
There you go. Now, now you can tell
Oh, look
us.
at this. Look at this. You want to know about real estate? And they say, I don't have a crystal ball. Well, I do. Let me see. I
That
can
is-
tell you right now, you will never afford a house in San Diego. There is no houses being built. And the last time there was a comedian that was funny because he goes, I looked under home affordability in San Diego and a picture of my car came online. So this crystal ball, you can't guarantee that the houses are going to go up in the future. You can't guarantee it. You can assume it like 99.9, but there's certain areas like how about those places where they find like bad water, or they found, like these places in Chicago and Detroit where they go, oh, the
Well,
water's
it's like saying I
contaminated.
can't guarantee something's waterproof. You can't say waterproof. You have to say water. But I have a
No
question
guarantees,
for
Mark.
Rachel.
Yeah.
Because you made me think of something when you're talking about these
Crystal
crystal
ball, what
balls.
do we do? This is an
Put it
actual
in
crystal
elephant.
Put it
ball.
back on the elephant's noses.
Yeah, we can put it right
So
there. Oops, sorry.
is it
A lot of noise.
is it senior abuse?
Is that in the way, guys? No, you're good. Okay.
Is it senior abuse when a senior calls up one of these lines to have their cards read or their fortune told, and they is that an abuse?
No, why would it be to just get them to call?
No, if they call and they charge them money. All right, just checking. Because there's
Somebody
a lot.
call you? You got a fortune
I mean,
teller?
I think if they're
Like if a fortune
if that's
teller
where it
calls-
starts and ends, then no, I just
Okay,
I
because
know.
we're not going to tell
because
you the free will of talk about ageism, right? You're senior, so now you can't
But-
get your fortune told.
I have a mother-in-law, and I always get worried that she's going to get a phone call because she's very nice.
Right.
Nice, Catholic, always making like stuff for the orphans, and will do anything for anybody. But she can get suckered because she's lives by
Yeah.
herself. We actually have a granny flat that she lives in, an actual granny for a granny flat. And sometimes when she takes calls and they start talking to her, she starts going, well, what do you mean? She starts getting involved, and then they have the communications. And I've been there, like, she's been talking to these people for 15, 20 minutes, and they're getting her on the hook. I'm like,
That's the companionship. That's the need for
Yeah,
companionship. They
right.
just want to talk.
Right.
Happens to my office. It's like this client is on the phone for 2 hours. Put them on speaker. Let them talk. We'll entertain for a bit. Those kind of scams do happen. So there are the people. I was in a Bank of America years ago, and this older woman was at the
Yeah.
counter truly trying to transfer $40,000 to the Prince of Egypt, right? And they were like, all of the tellers were there, and they're like, I don't, do you have family? Like, what's going on? Do you really want to do this? Totally set about, how she was going to wire this, he was going to send her, the whole that
God, the
scam
whole
that was
scam,
going
right.
around. I didn't know her, but I just stepped in and I was like, are you sure? Like, do you know this person? Do you want to really wire? She wanted to. She ended up wiring it because it's her money, right? What can you really do? But those kind of things happen. They're getting more and more sophisticated as artificial
she
intelligence
wired
comes
a
on.
$40,000.
Yes.
Frank, did you get it?
Yeah. Egypt
good.
doesn't have a king, does it? Saudi does,
Saudi has a king.
but not Egypt.
Okay, nobody in San Diego knows them. All
Right.
right? Let's
Right,
Right,
exactly, yeah.
Your
No, that's-
mother-in-law does not know that
Right.
king or prince or
I
whatever.
have, 13 million in this account. In order to transfer it out safely, please give me your account number. I will give you 5 million if you help me transfer all this money in.
Yeah.
But I have to do it now. I need you. Call me back. Here's my number. Here's my name. They call back.
They're
They
really
just keep-
good.
So you want to know the new one that I think is going to get everybody?
Yeah, I was going to
more?
ask you, like,
Oh,
what's
which
going
new
on?
one?
Yeah, so this happened to one of my family members. Artificial intelligence got the voice of a grandchild,
Oh, no.
called my family member and said, using this artificial intelligent voice, I'm in jail. Don't tell my mom and my dad. I need you to bail me out. Can you please send me bail money? Whatever, 10 grand. Okay, yes, like devastated. Their grandchild is like in jail. So is on the way to the bank because they've got, who wants their grandchild to be stuck in jail? That's a horrible place. On the way, parent calls and she's like, no, we're going to wire, he's in jail. We're going to wire money. And the parent, I'm just trying to keep because they all live in San Diego, so I'm trying to keep them a little anonymous, said, what are you talking about? Not in jail at all. Like, just talked to him and would have called us, right? So it was an artificial intelligent voice.
Man, that is
My family member absolutely thought it was the grandchild. And I think the only reason my family escaped it is because we're a pretty close family unit.
Right.
But can you imagine the
No.
families where mom doesn't and dad don't get along with
Oh,
grandchild?
that's going to
and, like,
happen a lot.
all the time.
Or live in another
And it
state.
sounds like their voice.
Yeah, that's true because I've heard they're doing that all the time.
Yeah.
With movie stars and getting their voices. There's an app that you can get that if you talk to it for 10 minutes straight, you just read a book, it gets your voice, it can do it then. It just needs that 10 minutes of voice, and then you can write your text and then say, add my voice. And
So
it'll get the
you-
fluctuations in your voice and everything.
You're on YouTube for
Right.
hours.
Right. Are they copying me right now?
We could take your voice and we
Right.
could have a scam go to somebody using your voice and
But you know what's a good thing about that? That if you do say something, you can go, "That was AI."
Yeah,
I never
you
said
can deny
that.
it. Yeah.
You
called me
got
and told me this directly.
scammed.
That was AI.
That wasn't me.
Somebody has my voice.
I don't know who did it.
Wow, that's
but it
crazy.
wasn't me.
Yeah, they're going to do that also with visual.
yeah.
You know, you're gonna go up there and think someone's talking. They're doing it because they're trying to throw Biden under the bus, throw Trump under the bus. So you hear the president's talking, and you're not quite sure if they're really saying it.
Yeah.
He's not. Biden hasn't been in public for a year. He's a completely generated AI person.
Yeah, sure, Mark.
On all of
Yeah,
those
exactly.
things. No, really.
If there's someone that's more,
There's a conspiracy.
if
Right?
there's
There's a conspiracy
Biden
theory
doesn't talk at all anymore.
saying that
Yeah.
Biden it's all AI generated when he's doing his speeches.
I think Trump looks more AI generated. Have you seen him?
he looks like
He looks different all the time.
his hair was
But
different.
that's not new.
No,
Trump's always had a.
But they
new
always
look.
they always make him like he's getting more orange. Like they first called him the Orange Man. I didn't get it, but
Yeah.
because there's always kind of sunburned. He looked more pink to me. But now he's coming online. He's like in a
really
tangerine,
orange.
right?
And the hair is getting more like
Well,
orange too.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
it looks more
Yeah.
like I
who
don't-
does that guy's hair?
I mean, I think it's just filters.
Oh, it is.
Don't you
Okay.
think so?
I don't
Maybe
know.
a camera
I never
filter.
seen
They
it.
can make us go to back to babies, be super
Oh,
old.
that's right.
Yeah.
So it's just
That's-
make, it
I
red,
wonder
make,
what
Trump, make Trump orange.
What do you think? Yeah, that's an easy one.
That's
what,
funny.
What do you think this is going to do as far as attorneys? Like all this AI. Did you guys ever talk about it with your staff? Like,
Yeah, so
it gonna
I
take
know
over?
attorneys that are using it to draft documents. I don't use it to draft documents. I've had attorneys say, you really need to. It's like the way of the future. You're fighting it. I still like to draft. I've seen occurrences where AI creates a case. So you like tell
Right.
it to draft something and there is no case law on point that
Right.
it can find. So it creates one.
Right.
That would be really bad if you didn't catch that as an attorney. So I still like to draft things. I think artificial intelligence has a place in law, and I think if we're not aware of it, then you're going to be obliterated, just like the lawyers that refuse to use virtual court appearances. And I mean, it's
technology.
it's technology. You need
Yeah.
to get on board.
Right.
I personally, in my firm, use artificial intelligence to support other things we're doing, but not to generate original
you know
work.
they had AI take the bar exam and it passed like really high amount.
That's awesome.
What does that say about people that are taking the bar then?
They've lowered the bar.
I passed before while it was still a 3-day bar.
Yeah,
I just want
it's a
everybody to
two-day-
know that.
it's a 2-day bar
I took a
now.
3-day full bar exam.
Yeah, they wanted to make it really easy to pass the bar.
Well, how do you qualify to take the bar? Do you have to take the LSAT?
You can go to law school.
Law
Or you
school.
can.
you go law school online now?
I think you do anything.
There's
online.
all different law schools. Yeah, they're like ABA. If I have people ask me all the time, should I be a lawyer? And I say, if you want, it's a lot of
Right.
work, but go to an ABA accredited law school. It's the only one that allows you to potentially practice outside of the state of California. And let's be honest, I love California, but we all kind of want a California exodus plan in
Right,
place
exactly.
in case you want to leave. So don't be tied to,
But you're also licensed in Arizona, correct?
right, because I went to an ABA law school. Yeah.
So you practice law in both Arizona and California.
So I'm licensed in California, Arizona, Kentucky, and Texas.
Wow.
But
Those are good escape plan places.
Right.
yeah, I chose Arizona first because I had clients. So I do actually practice in Arizona. I don't practice very often in Texas unless I have like a crossover client. And Kentucky, I don't really know what I'm doing with my Kentucky license yet, except I'm paying them every year.
Well,
Good, keep it.
Kentucky is a
Yeah.
beautiful place.
Yeah.
I want to go there. I think, you know
I
what I'm
wanna
going
go
to
there
use?
and check it out.
I'm going to use it since I'm licensed there, as a way to take my whole office to the Kentucky
Derby, yeah. There you go.
as a write-off.
How fun. How many in your office now?
Right now we have 7 people. I'm the only attorney, and then I've got paralegals,
Right.
legal secretary, client liaison, all the people. I really have worked hard since I decided to primarily focus on litigation on choosing people and working with people that are smarter than me and that really we all complement each other so that when we have a case that comes in, when we have a client, you really get a dedicated trial team that's going to get you all the way through trial if necessary. But I found that the better prepped you are from trial right out the gate, the higher your chances of getting a better settlement are.
If you want to be great, surround yourself around great people.
Better people,
Yeah,
right?
better.
I've never understood why.
Like Mark and I talk, but we have the two guys
Yeah.
with the brains in the back, and one of them's 19 years old.
No, he's not. He's 20 now.
Oh, you're 20. Hey,
You're
great.
blocking
Happy
my
birthday.
camera again.
I
So
think,
what?
I meet a lot of
Relax.
attorneys that get really, arrogant. And I think
Just
I want my
kidding.
paralegals to be smarter. I want everybody I work with to be smarter than me because that will only improve the work product that I can put out.
That's good.
But
What were your challenges passing that bar? Did you pass it the first time?
I did. I passed,
Oh,
I
you
passed
did.
all
Good.
my bars the first time.
How did you feel, though, afterwards? I mean, you always hear, like, people walk out of a 3-day exam. Did you think you nailed it?
No,
Or-
God.
Yeah.
I
50-50?
thought it was. I was not surprised when people ask me. Right, they always ask you, "Do you think you passed?" And I said I would not be surprised if I passed, but I would not be surprised if I failed either. I would understand both. I actually watched a TikTok a couple weeks ago, and they said the people that pass are the ones that don't think they passed because they're aware of all the stuff they didn't know. The people that don't pass are the ones that think they did because they are so not prepared. They don't even have a clue of everything that they were unaware of or that they missed. I don't know if that's true or not, but it makes me feel good every time I walk out of a really hard thing and think, oh, I sucked at that.
Did you have to join a firm before you had your own practice?
I didn't join my.
you
My
just
dad
went-
is an attorney, and my cousin is an attorney. So by the time I opened my firm, I had married with 3 children, had done the commute, been in the Army. My husband had deployed, so I was really ready to be back in like a nuclear, stable, single environment. So I took all of the information that I had from my dad and my cousin, relied very heavily on them, and decided to open a law firm that would give me the work-life balance and family support that I wanted, but also allow me to practice law the way I wanted to, because I didn't like. I'm like the oldest millennial that exists, right? I was raised as a Gen X, and then they screwed me and changed me over to a millennial halfway through. So I came into the practice of law really, I felt like, where we were still dealing with a different way of practicing law, and there was different expectations, and I didn't like that. I thought we can practice this new way with technology and not having to meet with every client in person and sign all original documents and you a typewriter and all of this nonsense. I just wasn't having it. And that wasn't going to be allowed at a law firm, so I started my own.
Wow. So you went for it.
I did.
Good.
So you are hard-headed
Yeah.
when you want something.
I like to do things my way,
Yeah.
but I also understand that has benefits.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it also has
It's so
drawbacks,
good.
right?
Right.
It doesn't always work, and if it doesn't work, I have nobody to blame but myself.
Do you think anyone ever underestimated you when you went to trial? Thinking like,
I think people underestimate me all the time when I go to trial.
yeah, that's too bad because that's,
I think it's fabulous. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? I love when people underestimate me at trial.
Yeah, they go in unprepared.
Yeah.
right.
And then all of a sudden they're like,
Because of stereotyping.
I didn't even
Well,
see
she
that
knows,
coming. Yeah.
What?
Right.
You know what you're saying?
Right, exactly. Here comes the California blonde, and all of a sudden, whack,
Yeah.
she wins.
And if
she
I
has-
wear like a pink suit, it's
Yeah.
even better. Then
Right,
they make
right.
fun of my clothes.
But I'll tell you,
and
Right,
it's-
right
like,
now,
oh, she's going to lose.
I think that
wins.
the word is out. They know who she is when they go to court. They go, oh,
Yeah, do they know you now? You got a reputation? Like,
Yeah.
what do they call you?
So I try and stay
King
away from.
Cobra.
I try and
That'd be
stay
good.
away from reputations. I get calls from clients that are like, "I heard you're a bulldog." I hate being called that. I think I'm a really nice person. I try and be very professional. I'm not mad at you. I just will go to trial and
Right.
and you put on your
Business
case
is
and
business.
business. But it's
Right.
not in a disrespectful way.
Right.
I just don't mess around. So I try to stay away from the reputations or what people are saying about me. I try to stay away from what other attorneys are saying about me. I have had experiences, and this could be a coincidence, where I win a really big case against an attorney, and then like another case they want to settle really fast out of. So
Yeah. Uh-oh, yeah. Just settle. Right away, here she comes. What's the most fun of your job? Like, what do you enjoy? Or is it all a grind?
No, I don't know that I want to practice law until my deathbed. So
Right.
there is a certain amount of like, this is a grind. But I think the thing that gives me the most joy and fulfillment is solving problems. I'm like a fixer by nature. I want to, if you're sad, like, what can I do to make you happy? I
Right.
just do that in every area of my life. And so I think being an attorney really complements that because I have people that come into my office with seemingly insurmountable problems and I get to fix them. I don't actually think there's something that's not solvable under the law. I think there's time limitations, money limitations, emotional stamina limitations, but I don't actually think there's something that can't be resolved.
That's like you're born to serve because you went to the military to serve, and then you're helping your clients. You're just serving them, so you provide a really good service.
Solving problems.
Yeah, that's good. So family drama.
Family drama is my favorite.
Don't call your mama. Call King.
Yeah.
Where's the drama? Show me the drama. Call
That's
your
a
mama.
good punchline.
Wait, what?
Family drama, don't call your mama. Call King.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it. Maybe I'll have to add that as one of my.
Let's
Yeah.
trademark it right now. Family drama.
You guys can't trademark it. I have to. Otherwise, I'm
Yeah.
going to have to pay you a lot of money.
No,
to-
trademark it. That's a good one. Family drama, don't call your mama. Call attorney King.
Yeah.
And but
Call the lawyer king.
The lawyer king. Oh,
We're
yeah.
gonna do
If
your
you call the
business-
attorney
yeah,
king, it'd be somebody
Mark
else.
and I really have you here to do your business plan. No, I'm just kidding.
I appreciate it. You know, it saved me so much money for all of the people that would have charged me millions for this.
That's so good. So I do want the people who watch this, 3 of them, including my mom. No, I want you to.
Well, now she knows about scams.
Yeah, because as far as being brokers, Mark and I have to deal with attorneys, and we have to find ones that, especially know how to handle trust. But when you're handling a trust or when you're handling real estate, it often involves the elderly.
Yes.
So we have this thing called the senior
Real estate specialist.
senior real estate specialist. So Mark and I.
SERS.
Yeah, so Mark and I take these courses on how to handle and deal with individuals who are seniors who are selling their homes. Some of them have family backup, and some of them don't. And it is really different. So we were doing it before this specialist came out. You got to be slower. You got to make sure that when you remove a photo off a wall that could destroy a person. So you got to make sure you move things slowly. It's not like, oh, let's get that sign out there. You have to make sure if they're on like medication, what can impede their decision making. You often want to have a witness or a family member there. So it's handled completely different than the average person selling a house. And so this happens to agents all the time. So we do need the people out there like you that know how to handle trust and know how to handle and know what abuse is and see something, say something. So we wanted to highlight that today,
Yeah, I think anytime you're dealing with seniors, whether it is in real estate or just another area, when I deal with seniors that have cognitive impairments or some need help, you just have to be patient. And you have to be willing to answer the same questions over and over again without frustration. I think that's where I get most of my clients come to me and say, like, thank you. I don't care if I answer the same question
Right.
1,000 times.
you're patient.
I'll do my best to answer it differently so that you can, maybe it'll resonate. But I think patience and just realizing that these are stressful transactions and the best of us don't understand them. So somebody who's getting very stressed about it, just be patient.
When did you not feel like a rookie anymore? Because
Oh man, I still have imposter
yeah.
syndrome.
Oh yeah. We all do. It's like weird. You can handle
Fake
a
it
lot
till
of,
you make it. Another army thing.
Right.
Fake it till you make it, right?
Right.
I walk in all the time and I'm just going to fake it until, and then when I think it still surprises me when I think that people don't think I'm faking it anymore. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not faking it.
yeah.
Maybe I really got it.
Yeah, you're actually doing it. Yeah, you do. You fake it till you make it. You keep going.
And then one day somebody looks at you and they ask you for advice or something and you're like, the first time I had an attorney call me and ask me for advice that was older and had been practicing longer, I was like so flattered and shocked. Like, why in the world are you calling me? But that's cool.
Because you're you. Yeah, you are
Yeah.
the king. Did your dad get happy when you became an attorney? Did you ever work with him?
I think, yeah, we work together a little bit. We're not licensed in the same states, but we talk about different things. When I told him I wanted to be an attorney, the first thing out of his mouth was, that's a really stressful career. I don't think you should do it.
Oh, good encouragement.
Yeah, and I decided in true Rachel fashion, like,
Now I'm doing it.
I'll show you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think ultimately he's really proud of me. I talk to him every day.
Yeah, maybe he set you up for that. He knew he'd do the opposite.
Yeah.
No, don't be an attorney. That's big boy club.
I don't know that that's giving him a lot of credit. I don't know that I love my
Okay.
dad, but I don't know that he used reverse psychology on me. Maybe he did, and that would be the joke on me.
Do you
this
see
all
his
these years.
personality like yours? Is he go for it aggressive in court or anything?
No. So some of the things that I learned from him, he's very soft spoken, but he also is no nonsense. So I did really learn that you don't need to get flustered and you don't need to get mad when an
Right.
attorney like comes at you. It's just like,
Yeah,
okay,
it's just words.
all right, so let's just go into court. So I learned some of that technique from him.
That's
I think
awesome.
It's a very
law
powerful
what
one.
kind of law does he practice?
He's semi-retired right now. He lives in Nevada, and he has a general practice. But through his career, he worked for the State Bar of Nevada and prosecuted bad attorneys. He has owned his own law firms. He's worked as a deputy district attorney. He's done quite a few things over his life.
How fun.
Yeah, in California, he was a deputy DA?
No, that was in Nevada.
Oh, Nevada. Is that where you grew up?
No, I divorced family. So I grew up in
gotcha.
California, had the very typical visitation where I would go to my dad's for summers and holiday breaks.
To Vegas.
He lived in Vegas for a short time. Yeah, and we would go see all of the hotels when they opened, and then he moved to northern Nevada, and now he lives in Carson City.
How come your license only has 4 states? Is that something like reciprocity where you get one in California, you can work 4 states, or you just
No, so
wanted
California has no reciprocity.
No reciprocity.
So I
Oh,
took,
wow.
that made me scared, right? I was
Right.
like, oh gosh, what if I can't afford this place? What if
Right.
I hate this place? Like a whole of
Yeah.
these reasons. So I thought, well, I'll take Arizona because I have clients that are in Arizona. So I had to bar in Arizona as well. And fortunately, I passed that one right away too. And then from Arizona, I have reciprocity. So it was my Arizona bar that got me into Texas and then into
You would
Kentucky.
think, I heard that the most difficult bars exams to pass are New York and California.
Well, so New York changed to the multi-state bar exam, so now they have reciprocity. So I don't know. I don't
What's
know.
wrong with California? If you pass in California with all the
It's California.
yeah, but it's all the litigation that goes on. The other states should go like if you could do it in California, you could do it.
California doesn't have reciprocity with multiple things. So if you have a teaching credential outside of California,
No reciprocity.
they won't take it. If you have a concealed weapons permit outside of California,
they won't take it, right.
California doesn't take anything.
Right.
But other people take California stuff, but then some people, because California doesn't take them, some other states, they go,
They say
we're not,
no, we're
we're
not
not taking your stuff either.
Right, exactly.
So they need to open that up a little
Yeah,
bit.
exactly. If you pass
Be friendly.
right, California. Hey, we're our own country. Like if you just cut that down,
We're the
and
7th
annex
largest
us off.
producer of products and goods in the world.
Yeah,
Our
California's huge.
Yeah,
it's the
we-
whole coast almost.
I
up
know.
until
I
Washington.
really love California.
And New York is just a little blip compared to us.
I mean,
It's
I
like a
just
little-
went to New York for the first time this year, and I really loved New York.
It's
I
fun.
couldn't live there though.
Yeah.
No.
Why? Too many people?
Well, because the area that I'd want to live, I just couldn't afford. So I would want to live
Manhattan?
in like Upper East Side Manhattan, and
Right.
I get like a cracker box.
Our aunt
it's
lived
worse
there.
than worse than like San Diego.
Oh, of course, they have like things for like 300 square foot for a massive amount of money.
And that's just the housing. Then you go
brutal.
eat somewhere, and they're like, "Oh, you'd like a coffee? That's $15."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh my gosh."
$15.
Where are you getting a That's such a good deal in New York.
Yeah, that's good.
Only
It's
15?
25 here.
Exactly. San Diego is the most expensive place in the country to live.
That's what a recent survey said,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, we won.
Finally.
Yeah, we're number
It took
one.
us a long time.
Yeah.
They just had to notch up electricity a little bit higher. So we're the highest electricity, we're the highest gasoline. We pay the most for our health care, car insurance, water is
Well,
expensive.
house insurance now.
Housing,
Housing,
rents.
fire zones.
The only thing that doesn't go up in California is your paycheck. So that's the bad thing. But what Mark and I do is we have a lot of clients that make really good money here, and now they're buying condos in Tijuana.
Mm-hmm.
If you go across that little border and you think maybe negative things about TJ, there's now currently sections in TJ that I went to in Tijuana that literally look like La Jolla. They are doing it right over there, and beautiful high-rise condos. And then if you go outside of TJ, people understand once you go outside of Tijuana, you go a little bit north and start going, down to Rosarito and go, it becomes more and more friendly, and you can actually buy land because people think you can only do like a 99-year lease.
Well, it used to be that way, right? They
yeah,
changed
it used to be. You can actually buy land right now. In fact, I talked to clients that said the title companies were easier to work with in Mexico than in the U.S.
So the
we're
only
starting to
thing
see
is you're
people-
still subject to Mexican law, right? I have clients that are
Yeah.
like, well, but just take California law and like make Mexico do that. And I'm like, well,
Oh, you still
that
got to go
doesn't
to
work.
Mexico, right? Yeah, that's the hard part. But what do? You have you're working and you have a good job, but you just can't afford to live, and then you go right across the border. If you get a Century card, you can go kind of in and out pretty quick, and you can live the life of luxury over there. And the
That's
service
awesome.
is good. The restaurants are good. Like I was just there. I was like, I was on a panel speaking about real estate, and I was like, it's getting really nice over here. I didn't feel like unsafe at all.
I've been going to Tijuana and Rosarito Beach since.
Right. Since you can drink at 18 and
Yeah,
all that.
exactly.
Like, yeah, we all did that stuff. And back then you could just walk across so easy. There was not a problem. Like back in the day, it wasn't like this big thing.
We'd go
now.
after the nightclubs closed in San Diego.
Right. They close here at
Go-
1:30 and just go across the border.
Go to Mexico,
till-
party
yeah, they
till
don't-
4.
Yeah, they don't care how old you are when
Or
you
all
drink.
night and just.
Yeah, you just stay down
So
there.
fun.
Some people are still there.
I think back and I'm like, man, it's really cool that I survived.
Yeah. How did I not get hurt?
Yeah.
Well, eventually, if you go down there too many times, you're going to get into a problem. I think you have I think it's like a 10%. Like every 10 times, you're going to get a hassle of something. But just carry some cash.
I
and-
didn't. I never got hassled.
Yeah, well, you're lucky.
I got into clubs free and stuff, though. I stopped going when I was legally allowed to drink in the States.
Yeah.
So that my window was.
I wonder if you went to the place called the Baby Rock. Remember that place? Called the Baby Rock. Remember the Baby Rock?
It's like a giant volcano.
Right, it's like a big rock, and you go in there. It was beautiful back in the day. I don't even think is it still
That's
there?
in the 80s. It's all changed.
Okay.
It was mellow in the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty fun in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they had some problems. Like, they had a lot of murders going on a couple years ago, like
Yeah.
a couple thousand, and just in Tijuana.
Right.
But that's all, people fighting for whatever they're fighting for.
Right. That's like
It's
all
like not,
business.
yeah, it's all business.
I tell people, if you just go to Mexico and don't
Be the
be
rude.
stupid,
Yeah.
right? Don't go to like the red light district at midnight trying to buy drugs.
See, I told you,
Right.
Frank.
That's where you're gonna get hassled. But maybe 10 out of 10 times.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah,
exactly.
Had all the cash
That is
hanging
a-
on my pocket.
But otherwise, I think it's I treat Mexico because I love Mexico the same way that I would treat like downtown LA.
Yeah, be
Don't be
careful.
stupid.
Yeah.
Right, watch
Just
your
don't be
back.
stupid.
Don't be
Oh,
stupid. Right, even here now, it didn't used to be, but even now, like when I go out to get gas from my car and there's a gas station open at 11 p.m., I just won't go. I'll just go the next morning. Like you don't even want to get gas at night. You just got to not highlight yourself.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be like that. I mean, like I should feel safe to get gas anywhere at any time, but there's the way it is and the way it should be,
And then is it genuine fear or is it because we have so much information
Right,
that it's
exactly.
become
Too
misinformation,
much.
so now
Right.
we're just like
Yeah.
unnecessarily
Yeah, you keep-
afraid.
Just keep seeing these guys getting robbed on YouTube, and they just kind of like you're paranoid. You look around.
That's what people always say, oh my gosh, everything's so much worse now. And I think, is it? I mean, I haven't done the research, but
Right.
like, is it so much worse now? Or do we just know about it?
Yeah,
I didn't know
right.
about all the school shootings, maybe, or
Right.
the child kidnappings, or all of this stuff going on because news didn't travel.
No, it's
that
totally
fast.
different,
Told
right?
you.
But it might still be going on.
Well, you get it before it happens.
Yeah.
You don't go there. Just predict it.
There you go. I need to get on
It's
your
funny. Yeah, on that thing.
your thing. Yeah.
I don't know what he's on. Like I'll just keep the crystal
I
ball.
got the
close.
crystal ball.
Yeah, I like this crystal ball. I got this from Italy. I'd always like go there, and there's an island called Murano. Off of Venice, and the guys make this with these paddles, and you watch them make this right in front of you. It's like,
Really?
yeah, they
Oh,
just
yeah.
spin them and all, and there's things molting, and you're like.
Some of them are bigger.
I mean, if you look at this thing, it's really not that round.
No.
It's kind of like lopsided, and I've dropped it a few times with some scratches.
But it didn't break. I
No,
collect
this is
elephants.
solid crystal. This won't break. I mean, probably break if I threw it off.
Shoot out of a cannon. Won't
Maybe we
break.
should see what it takes to break this. No, it's probably
No,
bad. Like
it's-
that's a
it's
cool
nice.
crystal ball, isn't
It
it?
is a cool crystal
It's
ball.
heavy too. It's like, oh
It
my
has all
gosh.
different colors in it.
All I need is some tarot cards, and then we could do Mark real estate by Mark. The tarot cards will tell us what this.
And it
thing's
won't
gonna
be
do.
elder abuse.
Should I buy the house?
Oh yeah.
No, I
Yes,
was
buy
always
the
wondered
house.
about these people that used to call at night. I think they got busted.
Oh, those tarot card readers.
Yeah, they
Yeah, what
would
happened to
always
them?
advertise at night,
right.
and then what I'm thinking is some seniors sitting around the house, they're bored.
Me,
and
I
they-
was bored.
And they,
Senior, I think I was
Yeah, I
almost
was-
susceptible to
yeah.
that. So you're bored.
I'm
It's
like,
like
oh,
the,
fortune teller. I want to
what's
know.
the
Who
difference
could ta-
between that and knives?
oh, I love
God.
that knife thing.
Yeah.
I almost
bought it-
bought the whole selection.
You don't even want to know my knife collection.
For $230, like 250
Yeah,
knives.
then
and
they all throw in like the samurai sword
my-
at the end. It's like, yeah, I want to.
I thought I was the only one to watch it. I was
I
like,
used to
oh
watch
my
it.
God, should I buy it? Then I go, what am I going to do with 300 knives? I don't know.
But it's so cheap and
Yeah,
it's
so-
only
I know.
now.
Right, it's right
Exactly.
now. And they stick them in
Did
the
you
log.
watch that? Because I watched
Yeah.
that same thing. I'm like, oh man, that looks
Now they
cool.
got those other knives, just like these knives that they've been selling to cut meat because everyone's like Mr. Carnivore, but they have these really big, fat butcher knives. Have you seen these things? They look like they're hammered out of a guy in the Czech Republic or something. But I bought them.
And do they
Did
work
you really?
Oh, they work really good.
forever, or do they work like the
Forever.
first
No,
cut?
no. These knives that I bought, they're. I
Did
wish
you buy me one with a finger in it? That
Yeah.
thing? I have it.
Yeah, that's
Have
one
you
of them.
used it?
No, it's in my drawer.
Yeah,
I
what do you cut
just
your
saw
What do
it.
you cut your steaks with?
I have a Wolfgang Puck knives.
Oh, ceramic.
No, they're metal knives.
Okay.
I had a steak.
No, these are like.
Do you eat meat?
Yeah, of course.
I eat steaks almost every night.
These
And
are
so-
what were those things called? They're not Croatian, but there's a name from Belgium. I don't know, but they're big knives.
Ginsu.
No, the
German?
Ginsu.
Remember
They're
Ginsu?
not German. They made in Japan.
Ginsu was not even made in Japan.
I have
Ginsu
some
was the
nice
first original knife.
Japanese knives, but they rust so easy.
Yeah,
so I
those
don't
ones
like to
rust.
use
Yeah,
them.
if you get the Germans make the good steel, they won't rust. But if you get the cheap ones, they rust, right? But this one, like I thought it was going to be, it's a 50-50 shot. Is it going to be cheap? So I took my steak and I had this thing, and it was just like butter. I'm like,
Really?
whoa, yeah, it's really good. I'll show you a picture.
I'm gonna
of it.
buy the knives next time they
Yeah,
come
well, you get
on.
right now they're having a special.
I
you get
haven't
two,
seen him on a
and they're-
TV anymore.
Oh my God, they're,
But it's
He
holidays.
keeps going.
No, you gotta
He keeps
everything's-
going.
what kind of knives were those called?
I don't know these.
I don't know.
This
just,
is before their time. They don't.
Yeah, these guys are kids. They don't. They don't got to chop their
QVC,
steak.
they don't know.
They're adults. They're over
No,
18.
I think their moms still cut their steaks for them. I'm just kidding, guys.
We should have them sign up for the army.
Yeah,
You guys, we're enlisting you tomorrow.
right.
Or kicking you out of wherever you live.
Really fast. How was it like being a female going through boot camp?
It was really different actually. I had a friend that started at the same time I did. She retired like last week, and I was like, remember, like they only had one basic training location for women when we joined, and she just couldn't. She was like, I can't believe that. Like, it has changed so much. So when I went through, we had one basic training for the Army that was in South Carolina. We had our own barracks. Everything was very separate. The ratio was like, I mean,
100 to 1.
yeah, anything. You just felt like a queen, a princess, anything you wanted. There was always,
Yeah, because there's like a bunch of guys that haven't seen a
that
girl.
wanna.
Is that where you met your husband?
I did, but not in Alaska. I met him in Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wasn't your drill instructor, was it?
It was not.
Okay.
I was one of. So let me tell you that we would go. You had to do things at nighttime, right? So you'd have to go to like night fire ranges and do everything that you did during the day. You had to do a night drill of it. I kid you not. Every time we were in the dark, and the drill sergeants went to go get ammo, just turned their back. I mean, people would just start making out. And I'm like, seriously, it's 10 weeks, guys.
Wait, what do you
Like,
mean? The guys?
like the girls, because we would train together. Right?
Oh,
But they
okay.
would just turn and they would just start like making out, like a guy and a girl in basic training would just start making out. And I'm like, you don't know this person that well. And like, is it that you're that hard up? Like,
I think it's because
I mean, it was just bizarre.
maybe
To me,
they're-
it was so bizarre. I'm like, it's 10 weeks. I'm just going to make it through. I don't know what is, I definitely don't want whatever is going to go through this barracks.
Were you a
Um,
good shot?
I hate marksmanship, but I passed. So that's what I like, but I don't like it. I don't like shooting the weapons.
What about
Too loud.
So you didn't do any sniper action or anything?
I
Like that?
did. Well, you have to shoot. And back then you shot everything. So
Right,
you
okay.
you actually went through and did the saws and the grenade launchers and all of the
Right.
things, and threw live grenades. We did all of that. I've heard they don't do any of that anymore unless it's part of your job.
Got it.
I didn't get a kick out of it. I thought the range was really freezing. My fingers always got really cold. I still don't. I live on a farm and I still have a rifle.
That's the most important piece of equipment if
I
you're going to
still
go to
don't
war.
like
You
it.
better learn how to shoot that
I
thing.
mean, I knew how to shoot
Okay.
it, but there was people that were like
Really
"Oh,"
into it,
you know,
right.
and I was like,
This is my rifle. My
This is
rifle.
my gun.
Yeah.
This
I
is
sleep
for
with my rifle. Whatever.
this is for something is for something is for fun.
fun, right?
Yeah.
That was from
Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great movie.
Did you have to go over a barricade like that? Climb up the ropes?
Yeah, we did all of the
That's so
and then
cool.
like some of those things were really cool. We had obstacle courses that you had to you're on teams for, and it's like a 12-foot wall, and how do you get over to the wall and get the
You have to
last
figure it out.
person up, and you have
Right.
to figure out all of these.
No, I really admire you for.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, her?
No, I was talking to you.
Okay.
I really admire you,
too.
Frank. So, no, Rachel. So, to be 18 years old
Oh, man,
and
that's
just to leave
Right.
and go in the Army and get on a bus with a bunch of people you don't know at night and then get off the bus and have people scream at you, that's a big deal.
huge.
I mean, that's like,
And you
you
don't
may
have-
not,
Right, and I really was
When you-
terrified. And I wanted to ring the bell, and there was no bell to ring. So that is a warning. There's no bell.
Yeah.
You don't get
Right.
to. You have to finish. Or you can get yourself kicked out.
yeah,
I had
you
a
don't
couple
want
people that got themselves kicked out.
that's a
basic training.
dishonorable discharge then.
Wow.
Or it's
Yeah,
less than
why?
honorable.
I mean, this,
Oh, you had
Yeah.
a couple guys kicked out.
we had a couple people that intentionally got themselves kicked out of basic training.
Did you see that movie Full Metal Jacket when the one guy was having problems getting through? He's like they kept making fun of him. He ate the donut. Did you have any
we had
guys
to
like that?
recycle, yeah. So I actually almost thought I was going to have to recycle. So recycling is when you don't graduate from basic training, so they send you back to the beginning with the next people. Like talk about, I think if I'd had to do that, I would have not been okay. So if you have health issues or if you really can't pass your PT test
Right.
or something, I was an A group runner, so that was the top. We had A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or whatever.
Oh, yeah, you're a good
So
runner
I was an
back then.
I was an A group runner. I was the only female on the A group. All the guys ran way faster than me. I was like so slow compared to them, but I still was faster than the other groups. And we had, at the very end, we'd finished everything. So the only reason I didn't have to recycle was because of this. We'd finished everything, and the A group got to go on a rewarding run, because that's how they rewarded us, with all of the generals and all the big people, right? So this was like, you finished. This was one of the last things we got to do, is like 3 days before we graduated, and we were getting ready for that. But we were all in trouble, and because you're like always in trouble at basic, because they can't. I don't think they can anymore. But at the time, it's just like push-ups so that they could get you in shape. So we were up at the second floor of the barracks. We were getting yelled at by the drill sergeant. We were doing push-ups for so long, and then he said, "You all need to go downstairs and get in formation. And if I beat you down, you're going to continue to do like 250 push-ups or something." And I was like, I am not doing push-ups anymore. So I ran, and he and I there were stairs, right? There was like stairs we had to go. He and I were running together, and I thought, oh my God, if I touch him accidentally, because I lose my balance, I'm going to be killed. Like he's going to lose it, because you can't touch your drill sergeant. You can't do anything, right? So as we were going around the corner, because it was a curving.
You jumped the rail?
I went out, and I rolled my ankle, and I fell down the stairs, and I just laid there, right? So I was the first person, because I wasn't going to beat him. I laid there. He kept yelling at me to get up. I couldn't. All I hear, I like went out, like almost. It's like you had tunnel vision. All I hear is, "Oh my God, she's got bones sticking out," and I thought, "Oh my God, I'm so screwed." And I just laid there, and then again he kept telling me I had to get up, because he was afraid that I'd really hurt myself. I got taken to the emergency room. I, hurt I was black and blue all the way up to my knee. I couldn't do the run, obviously, and then there was an inspection after. I couldn't do two of those things, and they were both required. And so they talked to me, and they were like, "You're going to have to recycle." And I said, "Oh no, something's got to be done. I've passed everything else, like an inspection that I can't stand at attention for, and a stupid run that's just for." I don't know, accolades, like let me go. So fortunately they did, but
Oh my gosh.
but I
That was
graduated with
close.
basic training with crutches.
Oh
The whole
gosh.
thing, 'cause
Yeah.
And rolling
Injury.
your ankle is painful.
It was a spiral that went all the way up, and
Oh.
it took my knee out. It was a mess.
Did you have to have surgery?
I didn't. I probably should have, but if I'd taken any medical treatment, then I wouldn't have been able to graduate basic.
Oh,
so I
that's
told
right.
them,
Couldn't take any
You're
pain pills.
fine.
I said,
Give me
I'm fine.
ice.
I even like shoved my foot in my shoe, and they were like, it doesn't even fit. And I was like, yes, it does. Like, give
Oh
me
my
my
gosh.
Motrin, give me my water. And I did Motrin and
See,
water.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well,
about her.
they
That's
created
impressive.
they created a soldier.
Right.
Yeah,
And then,
good
and then
job.
to actually graduate, I wasn't allowed to have my crutches. So I had my crutches the entire time all the way up. But they said you can't be on crutches and graduate. Like if you need crutches to graduate,
You can't.
We're not graduating.
you're not graduating.
Right.
So I took
Make us look bad.
like too many Motrin pills, and I took water and I dropped them right before, and I just walked across the.
Did it hurt?
Oh, so bad.
course.
I mean, I was black and blue. It was 2 days or 3 days beforehand.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
twisting
my mom
injury.
was there because they came out, and all you want is to see your family. Like you're just
Yeah.
looking through them. They can't tell who you are because all of us look the same.
Green.
And I saw them and I like started crying. And then she saw like afterwards, you're allowed to go out to dinner. And so we went out. It was the first time we were off base, first real meal that you have. And I showed her, and she was like, she was so irate with the Army. She was
Right.
like, they ruined my daughter. And I'm like, no, but I'm done.
Right. Don't give them.
Exactly.
I don't want to recycle, Ma.
Yeah, I'm not doing
Right.
this over again.
That was so
That'd
awesome.
be the worst. That's
Well,
a good story.
If somebody does want to get in touch with you, because we want to do a shout out for you, what's the easiest way to get in touch with you?
I'm on all of the socials at The Lawyer King.
At the Lawyer King.
At
Yes.
the Lawyer King.
And on the web at www.thelawyerking. So that's easy.
The Lawyer King.
The Lawyer
That's easy.
King.
The Lawyer King.
You have to know how to spell lawyer.
It's funny. L-A-Y. Just kidding.
O-R. Yeah. L-A-W-W-Y-R. Yeah.
Lawyer.
Liar.
L-A-O-U.
You know how those people say it? He's a liar.
He's a liar from New
A
York.
lawyer. A
It's-
liar.
LAWYER for everybody.
Law?
So we don't
Yeah, yeah,
confuse
yeah,
them.
L-A-W-Y-E-R.
Yeah. Law and you're.
Yes.
Liar. You're a liar. Well, thank you so much for coming in. So, anyone out there, if you need a good attorney, if you think there's any abuse, if you need trust, if there's family drama, don't call your mama. Call the king. Okay? So thanks for coming in today,
Right.
Rachel.
Thank
Appreciate
you so much
it.
for having me.
All right,
It's
that
been
was
so
great.
much fun.
Yeah, that was great. Do it again.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. And you know what to do. Subscribe. Check out the Powell Brothers. And thanks for tuning in to Just to Let You Know. We'll see you next time.